This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Regina Lee.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. I'm here in the Charlotte area, and I'm super excited to have back with us today, I think for the fifth time, Mike Spazzato. He's the broker owner of Carolina Realty Advisors, in Charlotte. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we have covered some really fantastic topics in our last four episodes. And today there's something hot on my mind, and it's probably on everyone's mind, is AI. And I'm super curious, how is that being used, or what are you seeing how in the real estate industry?
Well, there's a couple of different things I've been seeing. One of them that's most like forward facing that consumers are probably experiencing, maybe they're not even aware they're experiencing it, but there's a lot of platforms now that have AI, bots that are actually making phone calls. So you might get a phone call from somebody who claims to be a realtor, but they're actually an AI robot, believe it or not. And you can tell if you really have a keen ear and you listen to what they're saying. But it's getting better and better and better. And I'm sure by this time next year, it's going to be harder to, figure out that you're actually talking to an AI bot versus a human being. But that's technology for you. So you got that, and then there's a lot of platforms that will do texting. So if you happen to engage with a real estate agent or a real estate firm about a property or any kind of interest in something, you might start texting back and forth. And a lot of times those are going to be text bots. They're not humans. They're pre-programmed to ask certain questions. And we have it in our firm, and it's funny because some of the people that engage it, the things they say, it's kind of comical, but it does work from that perspective. But the other thing that the public doesn't see is on the back end. One of the things we've kind of stumbled on is being able to price property out. So when you're looking at listing a property, you want to try to come up with the best, fair market value for pricing it. And there's a lot of data points you can use, from price per foot to recent sales in the neighborhood, of course, and tax record information and a whole bunch of other little parts. But now, if you know how to ask the AI chatbot, certain questions, the right questions, it can lead you down a pathway where you can start to figure out what the AI thinks the property is worth as well. And you can use that as a data point. I've used it a handful of times, again, not as the primary way of doing it, but just as a data point, and it's been really accurate. So, it's
a time saver, I'm sure, for you, but for the consumers and how you run your business, what's your personal philosophy after that initial, conversation text? Where do you go from there?
Well, the first couple of questions it asks are very broad, general questions. But if you see that the potential client is really engaging and they're coming back with the right kinds of answers, and they don't have an agent and they're in the market, that's when we immediately call them and try to get them on the phone so we can have a conversation, because nothing beats a conversation with the potential client.
That's right. And I called a business today and I knew it was AI. I think we're all going to become wiser. And, working with an agent or a firm to buy and sell a home is such a big deal. So that makes a lot of sense. So another thing that's on the news and that we're all hearing about is interest rates. Tell us what's going on. It seems like they're shifting again. So give us an update.
So when we did our first show, like you said, this is the fifth episode. So it's been a while, 6-7 months ago, maybe. Interest rates were close to 7% back then. And, a lot of buyers were sitting on the fence waiting for the rates to drop. Well, they have dropped. Now we're at 6.125, and today's October 29th, 2025. So, and from the information that we're getting, they're rates will probably drop 2 more times before the end of this calendar year. How big a rate drop, no one knows, but I'm certain we're going to get under 6%. There's those predicting that by spring or summer, we might be down to, 5.5 or 5.75, something like that. It's really interesting because right now, there's a lot of inventory on the market. And if you were a buyer, this is I've been doing this 25 years. This is one of the best times that I could ever think of to buy because rates are trending down. So you're going to get a competitive rate, but there's so much inventory that you're seeing major price drops right now for people who are motivated to sell. And so you could get a good strike price on a property, get a decent rate, and if they go down, you can refinance it. But it's a absolutely perfect storm time to buy.
Wow, that is fantastic. What are some of the hot areas in Charlotte right now?
Same as always, Dilworth always good. SouthPark's good. South End's always, well, not always, but it has been up and coming. There's just not very much inventory there. Of course, any waterfront property on either one of the lakes, because people love the lakefront property. Waxhaw, Weddington, those are some of the best areas. The problem though that you have is now that schools have started, there will be those people who need to make a move during the holidays to resituate with schools, but there are a limited amount of people. And so the big suburban markets, usually this time of year, they tend to get slower until we hit the spring market. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. When I was a kid, my dad's job moved us around, and we always moved in the middle of the school year, which is not so much fun.
Yeah.
So we've tapped a little bit into the Charlotte market, but let's dive a little deeper. What is happening in our specific area?
What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
That just our market update for the Charlotte metro area, because I know you are a North and South Carolina realtor as well.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of inventory. When I guess this time last year, we still had roughly, a month and a half, 2 months of inventory, which means from the time you listed it to the time you sold it, it would have taken, 45 to 60 days. Now, it's like 6 months of inventory, which is I always look at things like a pendulum. So you have this kind of big pendulum like this. You list it until you close is roughly 30 days. A balanced market is on the bottom of the pendulum where we are now, which could be around 6 months plus or minus to list your property, go through the whole selling process and close it. And a buyer's market is when you're way up on the other side of the pendulum where you have 12 months of inventory. So if you have that much inventory, competitive on price and do everything they possibly can to sell. So right now we're actually in a balanced market. It just doesn't feel like it for a lot of people because they're not used to it. If you're relatively young, you've never seen this before. You're used to just properties getting listed and bam. But if you've been around and you've been in the market, or you just bought, sold homes through couple of decades out throughout your life, then you realize that right now we're in a balanced market, and so there's a lot as interest rates drop and we get into 2026, and all of a sudden the current inventory, either sellers take it off the market, which we're seeing that happen, or the market inventory gets absorbed. I think we're going to slowly but surely get back into more of a seller's market because there's a lot of pent-up buyer demand, and especially in our area. I don't know the exact number, but they say there's over 100 people, closer to 150 people every day moving in here. So if there's that many people moving in, that they need places to live, and a lot of them are renting currently. But that's just a big waste of money, and the rent's not very cheap around here. So.
Yeah, I mean, I look around Charlotte, there are a lot of multifamily things being built, but
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's always been a great place. Ever since I've been in the business, like I said, 25 years, been in the top three for a variety of reasons, as we all know. So yeah, it's great. But going forward, I think 2026 is going to be a robust year buying and selling real estate. I would highly advise, if you're listening to this, to get in on the front end of that, because I could see, we hit March, April, May, and all of a sudden it starts to get like a chili cook-off gone wild, and rates are down. People are moving really fast. So, yeah.
For first-time home buyers, where do you advise them to look? Where do you shine a light for them?
Well, everybody's different, so it depends on what their situation is. A lot of previously, when we were in the COVID year, there was a lot of younger buyers coming out trying to get into the popular areas, but now the first time buyer is a little bit older, and so if they have a family, schools could be really important.
Yeah.
If it's more of an investment and they're coming into town for a couple of years and maybe working in uptown or close to uptown, and they want to be close to work, and they want that kind of condo townhome living, that could be a good fit. So you just really, it's a needs analysis based approach when you just kind of learn more about each individual client, what's important for them before you can give any advice, really.
Well, I love that the name of your business is Carolina Realty Advisors. And I know we've touched on that in some of our other conversations, but with you being, such a high producer and covering this metro area, and you're very community involved. So you bring a lot of knowledge and help and advice, to your clients. So kudos to you. Glad things are going so well.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, it's been a pleasure. I know we're going to do more of these, and I look forward to our next talk. Tell everybody how to reach you.
Yeah, it's easy. My number 704-619-7070. That's the easiest way. Or you could email me. My email is Mike@Carolina Realty Advisors. That's the name of our company, Carolina Realty Advisors. So Mike@CarolinaRealtyAdvisors.com. Perfect.
All right. We'll talk soon, Mike.
All right. Have a great day. Thanks for having me.
You as well.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpsouthcharlotte.com. That's gnpsouthcharlotte.com, or call 980-351-5719.